Jason Momoa is known for being one of Hollywood's toughest leading men. A warrior on screen, a fearless stuntman, a force of nature in every role he takes on. But behind the Aquaman armor and Khal Drogo intensity lies something far more vulnerable. A devoted father struggling with a reality every parent dreads, watching his little girl grow up. Recently, fans were left stunned and deeply moved when footage surfaced of Momoa breaking down in tears at a family gathering. It wasn't a major tragedy, a career milestone, or an emotional farewell. It was simply the moment he realized his daughter, Lola Iolani, wasn't a little girl anymore. In a single glance as she descended the stairs, he saw all the years flash before his eyes. The normally stoic, larger-than-life action star was visibly shaken, struggling to hold back tears. But what made this moment even more powerful? It wasn't just about how she looked. It was the realization that she was stepping into adulthood with confidence, intelligence, and independence, qualities he had spent years helping her build. I'm Elle. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel for daily celebrity updates. From the moment Lola Iolani Momoa was born, Jason Momoa's world completely changed. The towering, battle-hardened warrior of Game of Thrones and Aquaman was now something else entirely, a devoted, overprotective, and completely smitten father. But unlike most Hollywood parents, Jason didn't want his daughter growing up under the blinding lights of fame. He and Lisa Bonet were determined to give her a childhood rooted in adventure, culture, and freedom. No paparazzi-fueled upbringing, no red carpet expectations, just nature, creativity, and family. Instead of movie sets, Lola grew up surfing the Hawaiian waves, scaling rock walls, and learning about her Polynesian heritage. Jason, a man who could crush a warrior on screen but tear up when talking about his kids, made sure she knew her roots. He taught her traditional Hawaiian chants, the importance of protecting the ocean, and how to live fearlessly. But even with this grounded approach, Lola always had a front row seat to her father's larger-than-life world. She visited his movie sets, watching him transform into superheroes and warriors. But to her, he was just dad. No matter how many fans cheered for him, the only opinion Jason truly cared about? Lola's. As she grew, their bond became unbreakable. She wasn't just his daughter, she was his adventure partner, his biggest critic, and his soft spot. But while Jason may have been raising her to be strong, independent, and fearless, he wasn't prepared for the day when she wouldn't need him in the same way anymore. And when that moment finally arrived, it shattered him. Jason Momoa may play Hollywood's ultimate tough guy, but when it comes to his daughter, he's nothing but a big softie. From the moment Lola was born, their bond was unbreakable, and it only grew stronger as she got older. Unlike many celebrity kids raised in the shadow of fame, Lola was never intimidated by her dad's larger-than-life presence. She didn't see him as a superhero or a warrior. To her, he was just dad. But the real magic of their relationship? She kept him grounded. Jason always made sure that their time together wasn't just about being a father. It was about being a partner in adventure. He took her rock climbing, surfing, and hiking, teaching her how to push past fear and embrace challenges head-on. When he trained for his movies, Lola was often right there, watching, learning, and even critiquing his fight scenes. But what made their relationship truly unique was Jason's emotional openness. He wasn't afraid to cry in front of her, to tell her how much he adored her, or to let her see his vulnerable side. He wanted her to grow up knowing that strength isn't just about muscle, it's about heart. Still, no matter how much he prepared himself for the future, nothing could have readied him for the moment he realized she was growing up. That realization hit him like a punch to the gut, and it happened in a way he never expected. For years, Jason Momoa saw his daughter Lola as his little girl, the fearless, adventure-loving kid who climbed rocks with him, surfed alongside him, and never left his side. But as every parent eventually learns, time doesn't slow down. And for Jason, that realization hit him like a punch to the gut. 2. The moment came at a family gathering where Jason expected nothing more than a fun, casual night. But when Lola walked into the room, something shifted. She wasn't the little girl holding his hand anymore. She was confident, poised, and radiating independence. It wasn't just how she looked. It was the way she carried herself, the way she spoke, the way she no longer needed him the way she once did. Jason, the towering warrior who had faced off against some of Hollywood's fiercest villains, was completely speechless. His eyes welled up, and for a moment he just stood there, taking it all in. In that instant, he saw every stage of her life flash before him. The toddler who clung to his shoulders, the little girl who cheered him on, the teenager who was now stepping into adulthood. The raw emotion was impossible to hide. Those around him noticed as his face changed, struggling between pride and heartbreak. His little girl was growing up, and for the first time, he had to face the hardest part of fatherhood, letting go. But Jason's love for Lola wasn't about keeping her in a bubble. It was about teaching her to be strong, fearless, and independent. And now, she was all of those things. Still, that didn't make it any easier. Jason Momoa had always been the strong, fearless protector, both on screen and in real life. But nothing could prepare him for the moment he realized his little girl wasn't a little girl anymore. At a family gathering, what should have been a normal evening turned into an emotional gut punch. Jason watched as Lola walked into the room, carrying herself with a confidence and grace that stopped him in his tracks. It wasn't just that she looked grown up. It was the way she moved, the way she spoke, the way she no longer needed to hold his hand. For Jason, the years flashed before his eyes. The tiny hands that once gripped his finger were now strong and independent. The little girl who used to climb onto his shoulders was now standing tall on her own. And for the first time, he truly understood what every father dreads, that his baby was growing up. Those closest to him saw it happen in real time. His face changed, his jaw clenched, his eyes welled up. The man who had battled villains, survived brutal fight scenes, and embodied some of Hollywood's toughest characters was completely undone by a single moment with his daughter. And then, the tears came. Jason Momoa has faced some of the most intense battles on screen, from brutal fight scenes in Game of Thrones to the high-stakes action of Aquaman. But when it comes to real life, he admits that nothing has been harder than watching his daughter grow up. After the emotional moment with Lola, Jason didn't hide his feelings. Instead, he opened up about the reality of fatherhood, how it's not just about protecting your kids, but preparing yourself for the day when they don't need you the same way anymore. In a rare public reflection, he spoke about the mix of pride and heartbreak, calling it the hardest thing I've ever had to do. He admitted that no matter how strong he is, nothing prepared him for seeing his daughter step into adulthood before his eyes. But what made his words even more powerful? He didn't just talk about himself. He spoke to every parent going through the same thing. He acknowledged that no matter how famous, successful, or strong you are, nothing stops time. And for him, that's been the biggest lesson of all. Even as Lola carves out her own path, Jason remains her biggest fan, her protector, and her soft place to land. But now he's learning a new role, one that requires stepping back and trusting that he's raised her well. Jason Momoa has spent years guiding, protecting, and preparing Lola for the world, but now he's facing the hardest part of fatherhood, stepping back and letting her soar. Lola, now a confident young woman, is forging her own path. While she's grown up surrounded by Hollywood, she's shown little interest in following in her parents' footsteps. Instead, she's passionate about marine conservation, sustainable fashion, and social activism, causes that align perfectly with the values Jason has instilled in her since childhood. But while he's endlessly proud, that doesn't mean letting go is easy. Jason has openly admitted that he struggles with the idea of Lola dating, jokingly warning future suitors that he's not above intimidating them. His overprotective side is still very much alive, but at the same time, he knows he has to trust her to make her own choices. Their bond, however, remains unshakable. Even as she grows into her independence, Lola and Jason's connection hasn't faded. It's evolved. They still share adventures, travel together, and have deep conversations about life, love, and the future. He may not be able to hold her hand like before, but he'll always be her anchor. And if there's one thing Jason has learned through it all, it's this: fatherhood doesn't end when your kids grow up. It just changes. No matter where life takes Lola, one thing is certain. Her biggest fan, fiercest protector, and most emotional supporter will always be Jason Momoa.